In Bowling Green and Warren County, you don't have to look far to find evidence of a history that stirs the imagination and honors us all with 200 years of pride, promise, and progress.
During this bicentennial year, we want to reflect back on that history so that we may better understand and cherish those achievements which have shaped our community and our lives.
Names and a date carved into beech trees along Barren River mark the first recorded presence of Europeans in the land known as the Barrens, a largely treeless area that might have been cleared by Native Americans to attract game. These European explorers were long hunters, apparently camping along the river in 1775. They were possibly following the Indian trails, one of which crosses the Barren River at the Shallows near the I-65 bridge. In 1796, 4 years after Kentucky achieved statehood, the land south of the Green River was opened to Virginia's Revolutionary War veterans, creating the first substantial influx of settlers. In December of that same year, the state created the county of Warren, named in honor of Dr. Joseph Warren, the Revolutionary War hero killed at the Battle of Bunker Hill. In 1797, the brothers George and Robert Moore donated the 2 acres that would become Fountain Square for the construction of a 1.5-story log courthouse and a small log jail. 40 additional acres surrounding the square were also donated in 1798 for the creation of a town.
A town is hereby established on the land of Robert Moore. It is ordered that 30 or more, not exceeding 40 acres, of land be vested in the trustees for the purpose of laying off a town which shall be called and known by the name of Bowling Green.
Because of its location, Bowling Green and Warren County quickly realized its potential as a hub for transportation and trade. When the Barren River was high, flatboats carried tobacco, hams, whiskey, and other produce downriver to New Orleans. The difficult journey, including the return by land, lasted about 6 months. A stagecoach line also connected Bowling Green to Louisville, Nashville, and Hopkinsville. Inspired by steamship travel on the Ohio River, local businessmen, led by James Rumsey Skiles, began efforts to improve the Green and Barren Rivers for navigation.
Let the people of Warren County not forsake the cause in which they have so praiseworthy made a beginning. Pride, interest, and patriotism all concur to sustain them in their progress. The plan they have adopted contains the elements of success. The only question is, can the navigation of our rivers be improved, and have we the means of doing it?
In 1827, volunteers cleared the worst sections of the river, and in January of 1828, the United States was the first steamboat to arrive at Bowling Green. Later, the state constructed a series of locks and dams that would allow year-round travel and make Bowling Green the head of navigation on the Green and Barren Rivers. In 1842, the project was completed, and steamboats began making regular trips between Bowling Green and Evansville, Indiana. When the Louisville and Nashville Railroad was planned to run through Glasgow instead of Bowling Green, local businessmen threatened to build their own line. Not wanting the competition, the L&N relented, and the railroad running through Bowling Green was completed in 1859. At the onset of the Civil War, most citizens of Warren County, despite their strong ties to the South, were opposed to secession. With the Union Army taking Paducah and Louisville and the Confederate forces moving north from Tennessee, Warren County found itself a strategic site on the front lines. It was just a question of who would reach the area first.
The Philistines are upon us. We heard shout after shout rise from the town. Getting the old spyglass, Pa looked to see. Quickly his eyes were caught by the flag over the depot, which, alas and to shame, was coming down, and a new strange one run up the pole when again shout after shout rent the air. Too well we knew what it meant. The rebels had taken possession of the town.
Confederate troops under General Simon Bolivar Buckner arrived at the Bowling Green Depot on September 18, 1861. Eventually, the South would station 20,000 troops in and around Bowling Green. They fortified several hills in the area, including Baker Hill, north of the river, and College Hill at the top of Main Street. Representatives from 65 counties in Kentucky, meeting in Russellville to approve an act of secession, even declared Bowling Green the Confederate capital of Kentucky. Meanwhile, though, the Union Army had moved south to the Green River, and Confederate losses at Mill Springs and Columbus threatened Nashville. General Buckner was forced to retreat. The last Confederates left Bowling Green on February 14, 1862, having destroyed the bridges over the Barren River, jammed several of the locks with boulders and logs, and either intentionally or accidentally burned much of downtown Bowling Green. The Union Army arrived the very next day and occupied Bowling Green for the rest of the war. The post-war era in Bowling Green and Warren County marked a gradual return to progress. The Freedmen's Bureau operated in Bowling Green until 1870, helping freed slaves establish new lives. The current county courthouse, considered one of the most impressive in the state, was completed in 1867. Its predecessor on the square was replaced by Fountain Square Park in 1872. Once again, the county's role as a transportation center played an important part in its history by spurring commerce. White Warren County limestone was quarried, cut, and shipped by rail for buildings across the state, such as the county's own courthouse, the governor's mansion in Frankfort, and even to sites in Boston, New York, and Washington, D.C. Locally grown strawberries were in such great demand during the first half of the century that the L&N built a loading station 1 block in length just to handle the volume. Commerce such as this stimulated growth in communities along the railroad, such as Oakland, Smiths Grove, and Woodburn. In the 1870s, Caroline Burnham Taylor began designing and sewing dresses in her home, selling them by mail order. As business grew, she employed 300 women at a building on Lower State Street and had 24,000 customers from almost every state in the Union. Responding to offers from other companies, Taylor said that she wouldn't leave Bowling Green for $1 million. Warren County even experienced a short-lived oil boom in the early 1920s. Its commitment to education also strengthened the area. Public education began in the 1880s, and a number of private educational institutions, including the Potter College for Women, the Ogden College for Men, and the Southern Normal School and Business College, developed and merged into what would eventually become Western Kentucky University.
Our noble boys and girls stand by our side, armed with ability and nerve, ready to accomplish the larger Kentucky if we will only give them an opportunity. We greet childhood today, and we recognize a patriotic call for education, and more abundant education, more scholars and fewer criminals, more free men and fewer slaves, more life and still more life.
Z.K. Jones was one of the first African-American physicians with a practice in Bowling Green. When he began in 1911, he charged 50 cents for an office visit and $1 for a house call. In 1975, at the age of 93, Jones was still seeing several patients, and during his lifetime, he delivered 2,500 babies.
Today, Warren County is the fastest growing county in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. With almost 90,000 people, we're home to the Corvette, Western Kentucky University, the Kentucky Museum, award-winning public schools, almost 700 acres of public parks and recreation facilities, and more than 100 industries.
Now, we've only highlighted several periods of our history that have made Bowling Green and Warren County the thriving community that it is today. Yet a wealth of history remains to be discovered and rediscovered. Now, as we enter the 21st century, opportunities exist for every member of our community to participate in shaping our future.